Hey, Bruiser Buddies, this is Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty.
Before we dive into the episode, make sure you hit subscribe on the podcast platform you're listening on. Also, follow me on X at The Dave Dynasty and subscribe on YouTube by looking up Nostalgic Dave Dynasty. You can also buy one of my shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. Now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to 1 hour of the toughest, roughest wrestling you'll ever see.
That's right, Dick the Bruiser said it all.
The big question, have you got the endurance? Have you got the brains to get past the excellence of execution?
Just they think they got the answers. I change the questions.
This is Jim Cornette, and the views that I'm about to express are not necessarily those of anybody else but me, but they ought to be, and as a matter of fact, they probably are.
The reason why Axe and myself were put on this earth is to demolish people.
Bobby Heenan is a very good-looking sport coat you've got on.
Yeah, and I paid for mine. Mine isn't government issue.
Hello, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside. By golly, we're ready to go with another big week of championship wrestling.
Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestling Nostalgia. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. We have a fun episode for you today. My guest today is Tony Lewis, an ECW superfan and founder of Strictly ECW. Now, Tony played a key role in some of ECW's history and evolution, and we talk all about it. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have my interview with Tony Lewis. Filsinger Games is a tabletop cards and dice game company that has enjoyed success for over 3 decades. Their first game was Champions of the Galaxy and was released in 1986. Champions of the Galaxy is a tabletop game that features professional wrestling over 100 years in the future. Humans, aliens, and monsters battle in the Galactic Wrestling Federation for belts. Legends of Wrestling features officially licensed wrestling cards featuring stars like Ted DiBiase, Jimmy Snuka, Harley Race, and many, many more, including game sets for independent promotions. Each match takes place in real time. The action is fast and furious, and all the things that happen in pro wrestling, like cage matches, outside interference, 3-man tag matches, they also happen in the games. You have the opportunity to run your own wrestling promotion involving either real life stars or fictional characters of the future, or you can mix and match both. Visit filsingergames.com for more information and to order the games today. That is Filsinger Games, FILSINGERGAMES.com to order now. If you like horror movies, be sure to check out Dave Dynasty and Ike Isaacs on the Listen to Their Screams Horror Podcast. It is available on all podcast platforms and on social media at Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2 in Screams. All right, and welcome back to Wrestling Nostalgia. This time, I'm being joined by an ECW superfan. Some might say ECW's number 1 fan, and the man behind Strictly ECW, Tony Lewis. Tony, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am very good. And, I like talking on here to interesting people, right? And I think there's more to wrestling than just the wrestlers. And you are a prime example of this. So this is going to be a fun conversation, but let's get a little background on you first. How did you first become a wrestling fan?
I would say back in 1981, living in New York City, we've had, when I was in junior high school, all of my friends and classmates, a lot of them liked wrestling. And I started watching on WOR Channel 9 at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning and midnight on Saturday night. And then I would catch the replay Friday night at 11:30 on the local Spanish station out of New Jersey.
Yeah. Did you ever get to any garden shows?
Oh yeah, I got to a couple. Surprisingly though, as we'll find out later on in the interview, I didn't go to too many garden shows. I think that's probably because most of the shows were on Monday night and had school the next day. Mom was not having it.
Yeah.
But I did catch like when I did go, it was always to a matinee.
Yeah.
It would be an afternoon matinee. I had a good friend of mine who worked part-time at WCBS, worked alongside Warner Wolf. And, Warner Wolf was the biggest supporter of professional wrestling on mainstream TV news. Yeah. So, he'd get the tickets for the Garden and we would go. So, like I said, I just went to a couple of matinees. I was at the first WrestleMania. And after that, I think the next time I went to WrestleMania was the second time they were at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny because New York's its own beast though, right? Because people say, oh, you're from New York. You had to have gone to the Garden all the time, but it's not like everybody in New York could just hop over to the Garden a couple blocks and get there. It's,
well, the Garden was actually easy. It's just like, like I said, most of the shows were Monday nights.
Yeah.
Monday nights at 8:00. If you had school the next day and you had a parent that was like, no, yeah. You're not going unless I go with you. Well, I mean, my mom took me once and that was it. That was the first time I think she ever heard me curse. When they announced what the main event for the next show was, I forget who it was a tag team match. No, it was a special attraction. I forget who the first team was, but the second team was announced by Howard Finkel as Jimmy Superfly Snuka and Andre the Giant. And I just said, oh shit. And my mom, she had the binoculars to her eyes and she backed the binoculars from her eyes just slightly, ever so slightly, so that she could give me the side eye.
We're lucky you ever have to watch wrestling again after that.
No, I didn't get into trouble then, but that was an interesting evening. That was an interesting evening.
All right, so let's fast forward then into the future. How did you first discover ECW? Because like for most of us, I grew up in the Midwest, right? I grew up in Indiana. For me, it was finding that TV show in the middle of the night, right? Just stumbling across it. But I would venture to guess in your area, it's a little different because, I mean, which came first? The show? Did you hear about a live show? How did you discover it?
It was a live show based out of Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Okay. This was, I don't even think they had the arena yet. This was a hotel show. Yeah. And actually the main event was the interesting thing about this show. The main event was Terry Funk and Eddie Gilbert in a was it a I Quit match or a Texas was it the Texas Chain Match Massacre? I don't remember exactly what the stipulation was, but the other notable thing about this show, it was I think it was the next to last wrestling appearance of Kerry Von Erich before he committed suicide.
Yeah. Okay, so you hear about this show, you go to it, right?
Yeah.
How did you discover, or how did it develop from there? Did you just start going to live shows? How did you discover they were on TV? How did this evolve for you being in the area?
Actually, I was, first of all, going back to this particular show, I was impressed because I didn't know a lot of the people on the card. And but they went all out. They went all out. And the thing about it was I had recently gone to a WCW show at the Paramount at Madison Square Garden. And it was one of the worst shows I ever gone to. And I was out of it. And so I go to this show and I said, man, I don't know these guys, but they're working hard. They're working hard to entertain. And I was like, I'm going to try and keep up with these guys. Yeah. Unfortunately, I had just started a job at New York City Transit Authority as a train conductor, and I worked the weekends. And, ECW shows were on the weekends, and I didn't have the seniority to get those days off. So it was a long gap between that particular show and the first show I went to at the ECW arena, and then the second show, and the gap between the second show and when I started going to the arena on a regular basis was about a couple of years.
Gotcha. Okay, so you were going to the right? We said there's a gap here because of your work, this that. But so once you started going regularly, you said you go in the arena. What were you going to multiple locations? Where all were you hitting regularly for them?
For us, it was the arena every week, every show, and I went to basically every show held in the New York City area.
Gotcha. Okay.
From the time that they started running actually in New York City until the time the company closed.
Gotcha. Okay, so it boggles my mind because I love ECW, right? And I grew up, but again, I'm in Indiana, so I'm religiously watching this show that I stumble across, and I'm digging for anything I can get, right? Any little blurb in the magazines, and then obviously eventually they come to our area and stuff. So it blows my mind for you guys that were in the area and getting to see it that way. So as things are growing, and as you just mentioned, right, as they're taking off and they start more and more, they're promoting these shows and stuff. You guys that were going to these shows regularly, that were there every week, what was the excitement like for you guys? Could you feel that magic, that momentum that the rest of us in the country thought ECW had? What was it like for you guys right there in the moment, being there as this is developing week to week to week?
Well, I have to tell you that a lot of the experience behind ECW, us living in New York City, was the actual the trip to the arena. Like the experience of getting there, and then once you get there, was something even that elevated the entire experience even more. I mean, what we used to do was a friend of mine was actually like a supervisor at my job. He was a train service supervisor, and the first time we had gone to the Elks Lodge, we a buddy of mine who worked with me as well pointed him out. I said, "Hey, that's our supervisor right there." And so from there, he stopped being just a supervisor. He became a friend, and he had like not a minivan. He had like a full size conversion van.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us, we would it was me, my partner Richie Rivera, and Ed Cleveland Jr., and Chris Lasanti, and my buddy Greg Wynn, and Chris Woodward, Buck Woodward, formerly of OneWrestling.com and PW Insider.
Yeah.
And we would just all pile up in the van and drive down to the arena and stop at Tony Luke's to eat cheesesteaks and go to the experience of just getting there was it's another part of the experience, but it elevated the experience.
Sure.
It was just the whole thing. The show was the show, but getting to the show and getting home after the show, whatever we decided to do after the show, depending on who we ran into, that was it. It was wonderful.
Well, which is probably part of why that ECW crowd was what it was, right? And because it became this different beast for wrestling fans. Because while you guys are having that experience, there's all these other people having those same experiences, right? In their groups and their friends, the travel, the whatever, getting there, making it this part of their calendar that they're doing regularly. And then you have all these groups doing this, coming together, and then there's the interaction of those groups there at the event. And it's like a one of a kind little pilgrimage experience.
Listen, it's how friends become family.
Yeah.
And that's literally what happened with us. Like, we became family. Literal family, like birthday parties and weddings and unfortunately funerals. ECW brought us together like nothing else probably could have.
Yeah.
Like we literally became family.
Yeah, it's fun. But again, that's one of the beautiful things about wrestling, right? It's because I love wrestling, right? I love the product itself, but there's so much more to wrestling than just the wrestling, right? I mean, wrestling, one reason wrestling's so important to me is because it was something that me and my grandmother watched together. That's who turned me onto it and things like that, right? And I remember vividly those times of sitting there watching with her, and she took me to my first shows and everything else in her little hometown and stuff like and I'm not unique in that. Everybody's got stories similar to that. And again,
Absolutely.
I have friends that I've met 30, 40 years ago at wrestling that I still stay in touch with. And the only way I know them is through wrestling.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, myself and Mike Johnson, like we're like brothers. We're really like brothers. I'm very close to his family. Matter of fact, Mike Johnson talks a lot about the car accident that he was in.
Yep.
And how I found out about that was that Steven DeAngelis, the ECW ring announcer, he called me and said, "Hey, Mike was in a car accident. He's in the hospital out on Long Island. Let's go." So we went out there, and he was pretty banged up. He was hurt pretty bad. But, he was uncomfortable. He's looking for a pillow. So I'm going around the hospital floor, going to room, trying to find an empty room, trying to get some pillows.
Yeah.
Now, his mother comes in, is like, "Who is that? Who's that guy?" And then from there, it's like, I'm her other son.
Yeah.
Like from that day until the day that she passed away, she always referred to me as her other son.
Yeah.
I was at Mike's wedding. I was at Mike's sister's wedding. I was at Mike's brother's wedding. I was there.
Yep.
Like we became family.
Yep.
Buck Woodward, the same thing. I'm the godparent to his children, both of his children. Whenever I go down to Florida, I always had a bed to stay in. Always got fed. It's family.
I get it. And it's only, to me, it's only a thing, right? Wrestling's so unique on so many ways. That's part of it. It's just such a, it's like, I don't know, it's like a society, but like you said, a family, right? It's just, once you find one of your own, it's like, oh, hey, you're my friend, man. You like wrestling? We're good. And you look past so much other because you got that one thing that's unique. But going back to the ECW and you're
okay.
When you're, as I mentioned, you're the man behind strictly ECW, and we'll talk a lot more about this because it's a very important thing for those that don't know. But it began around 1996, right? Initially as an effort on your part to help ECW get back on TV in New York, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. This is a hell of a story. And this is, again, one of those things everybody needs to brace, because if you're at a certain age, youth-wise, you're not going to understand a lot of this, right? Because this is what we're calling local TV and different things, right? This is something that can never happen again with the state of TV now. So
yeah.
Tell us again. Tell us this story, because again, like I found ECW on a little station in Indiana, right, playing in the middle of the night, which is that's how ECW did, right? They were on all these stations all over grew all over the country with whatever time slots, typically in the middle of the night. But you would think in New York, right, one of the home areas, so quote unquote, right, with Philly, New York, that whole Northeast, they wouldn't have these troubles, but they did. So tell us about this story, and it began with them again losing this time slot, and it began as a hotline, correct?
Well, we started. What happened was, ECW had been preempted a couple of times because of content. I think one of the shows that they absolutely refused to air was the lesbian kiss between Beulah and Kimona, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So they've been having Madison Square Garden Network have been having issues with content, and then just one day they just decided, okay, we're not going to run it anymore, which was fine. Paul supposedly had he did have another station lined up, which was channel 31 WBIS Plus. Now, the format of this station was supposed to be business news during the daytime and entertainment and sports programming at night. They had signed a deal to air ECW. Then they got a tape of the show and they just flat out refused. So I wrote a letter to WBIS explaining that, this was professional wrestling. See, what was going on at that time, there was confusion in the marketplace with ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and Extreme Fighting, which was the MMA outfit.
Okay.
Now, remember, at this time, MMA was pretty lawless. Like, there were no rules or anything like that. And when Senator John McCain, rest in peace, came out and said that this was basically human cockfighting, all the antennas raised up. Anything with the word extreme in it was tagged. And unfortunately, ECW was lumped into that, even though it was nowhere in that vicinity of being that type of type of fighting.
Sure.
It was professional wrestling, just like the WWF and WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a letter. They wrote me back and saying that they were not going to go back and air it. They just flat out refused. And that's when I started the organization New Yorkers for ECW. Now, my thing was, how do I get the word out? I had no idea about all of these free hotlines going on in New York. A buddy of mine told me about it. So I went into the city, went to this voicemail company, got a number, started recording, tried to get the word out. That's pretty much how that got started.
So you got, okay, so you're doing this, you're getting the signatures, the hotline to help spread the word. This snowballs, right? And it's picking up steam. You reach out back out to Madison Square Garden Network, right?
And Madison Square, and they refuse too. Yeah. See, here's the misconception. Everybody says that we got ECW back on Madison Square Garden Network. Technically, we did not do that. What happened was the MSG network would always go off the air at 2:00 in the morning. And the time period would go back to the cable companies. Mm-hmm. And so we had a relationship with the gentleman at Time Warner Cable, Michael Moore. Mm-hmm. Myself and my partner Richie would we would always reach out to him back and forth. People called, they wrote letters and things like that. And we'll get into the letter thing in a second, and the phone calls. But my partner Richie, he came up with an idea which we like to call the end around, which was basically, he brought up the idea of just airing ECW at 2:00 in the morning when the Madison Square Garden Network technically went off the air.
Okay.
Because now it's under local control. It's under really local control at that point.
Okay.
And after the letters and the phone calls and the emails, at that point, they just said, okay, we're going to give you ECW at 2:00 in the morning when the MSG network goes off. So we technically did not get back on the Madison Square Garden Network, but in a way we say it like we got back on the Madison Square Garden Network, and the Madison Square Garden Network had nothing to do with it, and there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah, because it was on the same channel as them, right?
Exactly.
On the dial, but it's not technically them putting the programming on.
Exactly.
There you go. So that's pretty slick. I like that. So you mentioned the letters and stuff, right? So and you're plugging this on all these things on the hotline.
Mm-hmm.
And so did this thing just take on a life of its own in the involvement with the fans?
Well, honestly, I thought that once that was done, I was gonna go back to being a fan, and that was it. I had no idea what the future was going to hold.
Right.
You
And
know.
okay, so and by future, let's talk about that, right? April 13th, 1997. Right? ECW's first pay-per-view, Barely Legal. And this event, if you read about it, if you try to look behind it, there were so many hurdles leading up to this event. Technically, this event probably shouldn't have happened, right? If you boil down to all the problems it was having, even the day of, and everything else, and it almost didn't air on some pay-per-view markets. Again, so was there an issue in New York with the pay-per-view market in Barely Legal?
Well, basically, the original date was supposed to be, I think, March 31st,
right?
And then
correct.
it got rescheduled to April 13th.
Yeah.
We petitioned both pay-per-view providers of Viewers Choice and Request Television. The thing about it is that depending on what cable company you had, it determined on who serviced you, whether was it Viewers Choice or was it Request.
Yeah.
Sometimes both companies service the cable company. So basically the show was only available to half the country once it was rescheduled.
Yeah.
17 million homes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, a lot, if there's anybody out there, it's a young listener, they may not understand a lot of this, but it's this is what it was, right? This is how you saw your big events, was pay-per-view, right? Literally.
Exactly.
Pay-per-views become such a cliche name for these things, but that's typically back then. It was literally that you paid
is exactly
a sum, and it was a sizable sum for these events, and that's how you saw them, right? That's all the companies did it.
That's it.
Or the major companies, and so yeah, there's these difficulties with this event getting it on, and then again, enter strictly ECW. You start this campaign to get it on. How does this work? How do you even go about? You said you petitioned them, right? So you reached out to the companies. That Viewers Choice and what was the other request?
Request.
Yeah. So I mean, what does this entail? What is this, a back and forth? How does this what is this like in the moment?
Well, it's rough because it's like, you have to find out where to call, and then you have to find out who to talk to.
Yeah.
That's really the most important thing. That's the hardest thing, to find out who to talk to, who's going to listen to you. Viewers Choice didn't really listen to us, but Request Television, there was a lady in the office. Her name was Beth Tutt. She was a wrestling fan. She understood what wrestling was, and she understood what ECW was. And she had that relationship with Paul Heyman as well, where Paul was trying to, he was trying to petition Viewers Choice and Request as well. But once we found out that Request was more amenable to possibly rescheduling, we hit them. And like I said, Beth Tutt was an ally from the jump. When you have somebody that's on your side, on the inside, it made it a whole lot easier.
Yeah, and that's again another element of pro wrestling over the years, right? You find it's happened so many times, right? Between sponsorship deals, TV deals, whatever it may be. If you find someone who's a wrestling fan, who understands wrestling within that field you need help from, it typically you've already got your foot in the door.
Yes.
So you go through. I mean, how long did it take on your part from as you're petitioning, as you're discussing with her and the companies? Did you was there at some point where they finally got to you and said, yes, we'll do it? A definitive yes? How long did that whole process take?
I think that the mass transit incident was November the previous year. I think we probably started maybe in January or February. Like it seemed like it might have taken a long time, but really it didn't.
Yeah.
It probably took maybe a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And we skipped over that whole part of it, right? The mass transit, because that's part of the issues
that was
they
the
were having.
catalyst.
Yeah.
Well, that was part of the catalyst.
Right.
See, a lot of people want to blame the mass transit, and it did have a part of it, but also Viewers Choice had issues with remember the first appearance of Brian Pillman in the ECW arena?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And they had a plant at ringside that Brian Pillman kind of like tossed over the
rails.
The railing and started stabbing him with a fork.
Yep.
Viewers Choice had an issue with that. And they also had an issue with Tyler Fullerton's birthday party.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
They had an issue with that. They had an issue with these adults talking to little Tyler in the way that they did.
Yeah.
So Viewers Choice had a lot of issues. Like I said, when you have an ally in an office that can help you, that's the reason why Request came on. If Beth Tutt was not in that office at that time, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, it's a unique what if to think too, right? Had Barely an Eagle not came off the way it did, what would have happened, right? I mean, it's odd to think what would have become after that. And again, it is peculiar to think of people now, because we're still in this era where there's this blurred line between, is wrestling real, is it not? It's starting to transition a little bit. People are, starting to but people aren't viewing it like they are other forms of entertainment, right? Where they see these adults talking to a kid like this, where that can happen in a movie. So be it, that's fine. But it's different if it's in this, right? They're viewing it differently.
Yep. Exactly.
And so it's different, which I guess, still, that's still a little bit of an issue even today, I guess, right? Where wrestling is viewed differently. But it's just so wild to think how this all transpired, all these events. But it ended up, right, the pay-per-view came off. It was this wonderful event, right? I mean, as a viewer, but it was still, even to that day, right? Because you hear the tales, and you were there. You hear the tales, right? Bam, pay-per-view goes off the air. The generators go out or whatever it might be. And it's like, it was just so, I don't know. It's just like these, it sounds like folk tales, but it's all true.
It's all true. It's all true.
Yeah, it's so wild. And then after the show, we've heard about the Paul Heyman speech. Only you guys there, right, heard it per se.
Yeah.
What was that like, right? Because you guys are avid fans. You have went through all this work to help get this event to be on pay-per-view. You've been coming to all these shows. We've talked about this family feel. Here it is, the little guy from Philly pulled off the pay-per-view. It was a great show. It worked. Despite all the odds, it was pulled off. You guys were this, you had to have been feeling, the talent, everybody, the crowd, everybody had to be feeling like celebratory, like, oh, we did it.
Oh yeah.
And then Heyman knew, right? He knew how to do it. He gives a speech. What was the vibe, the feeling in that room while he's giving this speech after this event happened?
The vibe was celebratory, but remember, because the power went out, there was no live mic.
Yeah.
So basically, Paul had to speak just from the power of his own voice.
Yeah.
And the fans gave him the respect of being quiet,
which just adds to
and
it,
letting
right?
him talk.
It's a whole nother layer.
Listen, when you hear moments of silence, you always got that one voice, or those two idiots that want to yell out or something like that.
Yep.
They gave him the respect of lowering their voice. They wanted to hear what he had to say. Nobody spoke up. Nobody ever had to say, hey, shut up or anything like that. Everybody was quiet. Everybody let the man speak.
It's unreal, because again, I've always said ECW it was right place, right time, the right city, the right people in place. You cannot recreate the whole what happened with ECW.
Yeah, I have a theory. I have a theory about the right place and the right time, because at some points, the right place and the right time. But at the end of the day, when you look at the history of ECW and how it ended, ECW was too far ahead of its time.
I agree.
We'll get into that. I guess we'll get into that later. But
we will.
You know,
but I guess my point is, when I say that, I don't think this could have begun anywhere but Philly. Well, I mean, you know, Philly was a different breed of fan.
That's true. Philly is a heel town.
It still is.
They love the heels in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I would go to shows in Jersey at the Meadowlands, and like WCW shows at the Meadowlands, and you know, the traditional people who was supposed to be cheered, the faces got cheered, the heels got booed. You go to Philly, Flair was the man.
That's right.
Tully was the man. Like all the heels. Philly is that's that kind of town.
Yeah,
like you said,
it is. It's so. I mean, again, I'm originally from Indiana. This couldn't have developed in Indianapolis. It wouldn't have worked in the early days the same way. It had to have started somewhere else before Indianapolis caught up. And but you are right. I do also feel right. ECW was so, and again, it's why I've also always ECW helped change the course of professional wrestling, because the wrestling has almost to this day since spent mimicking ECW in a way. I mean,
there's companies like, listen, I don't even think ECW had gone out of business, and then Jersey All Pro comes up. Jersey All Pro, all of the offshoots of ECW and all the companies that copied ECW, they lasted so much longer than ECW did.
Yep. And again,
you look at Jersey All Pro, like Game Changer Wrestling, forget it.
Yeah.
CZW, like I think the only ones that didn't last as long, I think, is maybe CZW and XPW.
XPW, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And anytime I talk to anybody from ECW, I always say, you know, I love wrestling in general, right? And I love so much, but you don't see people in 2026. You don't see AWA chants breaking out in crowds.
No.
You know, and I love the AWA. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but you just don't see it.
I like the AWA too. Those three letters meant a lot, and it goes back to what I said in the beginning. ECW was a different experience.
It was
everything else was wrestling, but it's just the whole thing around ECW. Just going to the shows, getting your friends, hopping in the car if you lived an hour or two away, just going to a show. Listen, Tony Khan at 13 years old, all he wanted for his birthday or whatever that story was, to go to the ECW arena.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just think if he didn't. Just think if he didn't. Do you think there would be a AEW if he didn't go to the arena?
No.
That often? ECW is so influential.
Again.
And the thing about it, like, some people want to shit on ECW sometimes. Like Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah.
I want to punch Bruce Pritchard in the fucking face. He shits on ECW all the time. But Mr. Pritchard, I will say this to you, that the ECW saved the WWF at that time.
Sure.
Nobody really, Vince only once gave it credit, but they took their talent, they took their ideas.
Yep.
They even took their color motif.
Yeah.
The red, black and white in the original on the original ECW t-shirt.
Yeah.
And then if you go to the original WWF scratch logo, it's the same colors.
Yep.
They took everything.
And they're not afraid to continue to make money off ECW to this day. I mean, they again, it's every major company from WWE, TNA, AEW, whatever, has in some way, shape, or form even knowingly paid tribute to ECW. Not just the influence. Uh-oh.
Okay, we don't have to do anything over, do we?
No. I got everything up till then.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all there. So, okay. Well, here, I'll just jump right back in because I was starting to say something when it cut off. So, here we go. All right. Yeah, we talked about that ECW influence, but every major company since ECW, WWE, TNA, AEW, have not just been influenced by ECW, but they've literally paid homage to ECW, had events, tributes to ECW, acknowledged the influence, acknowledged the importance. And this is for a company that, yeah, like you said, in the grand scheme, didn't really last that long.
Nope.
So
I look at it like Run DMC.
Oh, yeah.
The Run DMC's window was very, very small.
Yeah.
But to this day, they're still considered one of the greatest of all time. And like they were first in just about everything.
Yeah.
But their window was so small. And same thing with ECW. The window was small for ECW, 1993 to 2001, early 2001. So what's that, like just a little over 7 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the ripples 30 years later, 35 years later.
Yeah. And we talked about, that family-like feel and the event of you guys going and that pilgrimage, so to speak. But when you're there let's talk about the talent. Who did you guys as fans, or you personally, who did you think were some of the nicest and most approachable of the talents who really like to interact with you guys and the fans and you regulars at the shows?
Man, there's so many of them. New Jack. I have personal stories about New Jack because I took a high school friend of mine, a good friend of mine, female, took her to the show at Lost Battalion Hall.
Okay.
And this was even before I even got involved with anything with ECW. Like
so this is before the petitions and everything.
Madison Square Garden thing hadn't even happened.
Okay.
And I met New Jack after I met New Jack after the show, after a previous show, and I saw him again after this show, and I had my friend of mine, and I introduced them to each other, and supposedly sparks flew, and they started dating. It didn't last, and I'm not gonna say why it didn't last, but it didn't last, But New Jack, like I got personal. New Jack's been over to my house. He's met my mother. He met my grandmother. We went out to eat, and New Jack was he's a special person. He's a special person. A lot of people got him all wrong. Like he's one of the nicest people. If you were on his good side, like he'd do anything for you. One of the nicest people though was Balls Mahoney.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Balls Mahoney. Balls Mahoney, Balls and Axel. But Balls was something else. Like Balls let me call him by his government name. Like not in public, but when we were like one-on-one, I call him John. He told me, he said, call me John.
Yeah.
I
love Balls Mahoney. Always loved Balls Mahoney. Watching, in the ECW days. I always felt, it made me, I have a Balls Mahoney thing. It made me so sad. Is one of the documentaries, and I don't remember which one. And we're going to talk about a documentary here in a bit, but
it had to be Barbed Wire City, because I think that was the only one he was really in.
Okay, well, there was a scene where he's at some other show after ECW, and he's still so optimistic that ECW is going to start back, and they're going to start running shows again.
That was the Extreme Rising.
Okay, yeah. And
that was Extreme Rising. That was the one where Sabu had the medical emergency and they took him to the hospital.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I always felt
that show.
I always had this. It's just like, oh, Balls. It's like I love the optimism. I love the positivity, but it's like, oh man.
He was like, what type of bankruptcy is it? Was it chapter something? Restructuring, right? Restructuring.
I'll come back from that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Balls. And so on the flip side, And again, maybe you don't want to, I don't know, maybe you don't want to call anybody. Did you ever find anybody that was kind of rude or difficult? Maybe guys that just came in for a shot or two that didn't get it?
I never, I've never really had been one to like, to like chase people to meet them. I just met them, I never went out and about to meet them. We just like somebody would introduce me to them or something like, or they knew who I was. Like Bubba knew who I was from the hotlines and things like that. And that's how, we developed our working relationship and things like that. But I've never been one to chase people. So it's like, I really didn't meet too many people from ECW, but the people that I did meet were always nice to me.
Did you ever
maybe because they knew who I was and they knew what I was doing and things like that, but they treated me with nothing but respect. Nothing but I think like Nova is like he's one of my biggest champions. He always says that, yo man, you were in the company. We don't care. You were an employee. I mean, I wasn't an employee, but he said, man, you're a company. You're company, man.
Well, if that's the case, you're still owed some of that Paulie back pay too, then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you, and again, maybe you don't want to go in, but did you ever get any invites to the Travel Lodge?
No, I never gone to the Travel Lodge. Okay. Thank goodness.
Probably a good thing in retrospect. Yeah. What was it? They call it the Circle of Sin.
The Cylinder of Sin.
Cylinder of Sin. There you go. Yeah. And then, man, that's not an exaggeration from some of the stories. And I can only imagine the stories we haven't heard. And
oh man, if those walls could talk.
Oh, whew. They'd still.
If they didn't talk, New Jack would talk.
Sure. Yeah. But I always wondered if by chance you hanging out with these guys, and again, I know sometimes people don't want to talk about those things. I respect that. I get that. But so now there's when ECW appeared on TNN, what did you think of that at the time? Did you think it was a positive move? Did you think it was an odd? I liked it because to me it was like more ECW, right? I was okay, but then it did feel odd that ECW was on what was previously known as a country station. And
the thing with TNN to me was not even the channel that it was on. That wasn't the issue. It was positive until the first couple of airings, and then it immediately went negative.
Yeah. Well, there was a lack of support, right?
The absolute lack of support.
Yeah.
Like, how do you advertise ECW Hardcore TV or whatever the Thrill Zone or whatever the TNN show was called?
Mm-hmm.
You only advertise that show on the show that you're trying to advertise.
Right.
It did not. And I would actually sit there and I'd have the channel on for hours. No advertisement for ECW until ECW came on, and then they ran advertisements for ECW.
Yep.
They ran advertisements for Roller Jam all day.
Yeah.
So I really don't know what that was like. Stephen DeAngelis and I would talk, and he would just say, like ECW was just a tryout. It was just a tryout for them to get the WW, the WWF or whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's completely what it feels like. So,
yeah. And there was so many other things like, you have to pay for, you can't use your camera guys. You couldn't use Ron and Charlie.
Yeah.
You had to hire a crew.
Yep.
And you had to have this and you had to have that. And TNN was not given no support.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of financial things with that and pay-per-view. And people want to say that Paul Heyman was a shitty businessman. And the thing about it is, like, he didn't really have the financial backing to do a lot of the things that he did, and that put the company's finances under stress, because quiet as it's kept, no checks bounced until pay-per-view.
Sure.
No checks bounced until pay-per-view. Everybody got paid until pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And see, here's the thing with pay-per-view, and the thing that people don't understand or didn't really catch, even though it's so obvious when you think about it with pay-per-view. Let's say you want to produce a pay-per-view and you have $1 million. It costs $1 million to do a pay-per-view. So you spend $1 million, right? You had a pay-per-view every 3 months or so. Let's just put a timer every 3 months, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you spend $1 million to put on a pay-per-view in April. The cable bills go out in May.
Yep.
People pay the bills in June, if you're lucky.
Yep.
By the time that money starts filtering back to you, it's probably July or August. And then at the same time, you have to put out another $1 million to put on the next show 3 months later.
Yep.
And you still haven't gotten the money from the first one.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're behind the 8 ball already. Once that money starts trickling in, you're still in debt, because the second show, you waited, like if you had a show in April, then you had another one in July. The bills don't go out until August, and people don't start paying until September, like August or September. The money starts rolling in.
Yeah.
ECW needed about a good maybe 3 or 4. If it costs $1 million to put on a pay-per-view, they needed at least $4 million really to get started.
Yeah.
Just so they had a buffer, so that when the money started coming in, then they could refinance with the money that's already coming in.
Yeah.
I can't say whether they had that or not, because I'm not an accountant. I didn't look at the books. I'm just saying common sense. And like I said, no checks started bouncing until pay-per-view.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so funny to think everything they achieved, though, with not really not having a financial backer. And because as ECW grew, and they grew into pay-per-view, right? And they you know, whatever you want to think about TNN, they were on a national network, whatever. But then, and they also, over this course, they started having magazines and video games, action figures, all these things that everybody wanted, but you just couldn't imagine this little company having. They were doing it.
Oh yeah.
And they were becoming more and more known and everything. So during this time, when there's all this growth and it's becoming more widely known nationally, more product out there, and all these different avenues, you guys, as the core fan base that's been there since virtually the beginning, did you guys feel a little bit of vindication that, okay, all this support, all this work we've done starting to pay off, other people are catching up? Or was there ever any resentment, like, man, this is our promotion? And how did it feel to you guys that were there every week?
For me, it was like the more people that knew, the better. I was never one to say, hey, oh man, y'all the latecomers and all of that. We're like, come on in. The water's great.
Yeah.
The more, the merrier. I was all about the company succeeding. I didn't want to be one of those people that, oh man, like you the latecomer, the other bandwagon jumper. No.
Yeah.
Like, come on in, man. The more, the merrier.
Yeah. What's it like, again, being one of those early guys, right? That's been there, that helped got them on pay-per-view, helped got them back onto TV in the New York market. When you go out someplace, wherever it may be, and you see whatever, an ECW magazine on the rack or an ECW figure on a peg, what's that like for you to see that and think, oh man, this is pretty fucking cool?
Well, for me, I was like, hey, I had a little bit of part in that.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a little piece of the story of their success.
Yeah.
So I felt proud. Like I would get things custom made as like I had a vest. I had a black denim vest. I had the ECW logo embroidered on the back of it, and it advertised my hotline. And I remember I was on the bus or something like that, and I was getting off the bus, and that dude's like, yo, that dude worked for ECW. And I'm like, Yeah, man. So like I any little bit of success, like the magazine and the dolls, and I mean maybe with the dolls they could have picked a better company to start with, because those first dolls I didn't particularly care for, but it was something.
Sure.
It was something that you could point at and say, hey,
yeah,
that represents the company that I love.
Yeah.
In the video game, that represents the company that I love. And the CD, that represents the company that I love. And the magazine, that represents the company that I love. Although I will tell you a story about the magazine. When that magazine came out, Bubba Ray Dudley was totally against it. He was totally against it because it broke kayfabe. Bubba was old school.
Yeah, it still is.
I think Bubba stopped being old school. Like when Bubba tells that story about like when we go in there and have that meeting with Vince, and he talk about and I think Bubba said, we don't sign autographs and things like that. And Vince says, you will sign autographs.
Yeah.
And Bubba says, yes, we will sign autographs.
Yeah.
Bubba was old school until like, hey, once you get to the big show, it's like whatever Vince wants. But back at that time, like Bubba did an autograph. Like the Dudleys did an autograph signing at this car dealership that I don't know if he was involved in or he who owned it or something like that. They did a autograph signing there, but they never did any like things like that. Bubba was old school.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't know how involved some of these guys were in other things, right? Taz helping design shirts and this and that, and Tommy helping with so much stuff. Bubba helped with so much, right? He booked a lot of the I think some of the house shows and different things.
Oh yeah.
So it was, you didn't know that in the day, right? Because it wasn't as transparent as it is now.
I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine said, like, if I ever had an issue with tickets, don't necessarily talk to Gabe, but talk to Lloyd. Right? Talk to Lloyd. Mm-hmm. Lloyd is Stevie Richards.
Yeah.
I didn't find that out until like many years later, but Lloyd is Stevie Richards. So I'm like, hey, there was a chance that I was going to be one of those people. And this is I love Paul Heyman to death. Back in 2005, it looked like, no, not 2005. Let's see, 2002. Okay. It looked like we were going to go on strike. All transit workers in New York were going to go on strike.
Okay.
And Paul left a message on my hotline saying, hey, if you go on strike, give me a call. Like, you go out to the House of Hardcore and do some things, and we'll make sure you get some money in your pocket. And so, I like I said, anything for that company, anything for that company.
Yeah, but it is wild to think, right? And more comes out like that, like you said with the Stevie Richards thing stuff. How everybody was so invested.
Yeah,
everybody did.
Everybody was invested,
and
everybody was invested, and that all goes down. That all goes down to Paul. Like Paul was, Paul,
the motivator.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, there's been several ECW documentaries, right? Over the years, different ones, different specials with WWE's put out stuff on DVD and whatnot, and there's been other documentaries, but there's only one that you've appeared in, Barbed Wire City.
Yes.
So tell us how you were approached for this and why you chose to be a part of this one.
Right after ECW kind of went on hiatus before they actually went out of business, John Filipovich got in contact with me, and he said that he wanted to have me in this documentary. Mm-hmm. That documentary was a long time in the making. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I first met with them in 2001. They came up to New York, John and Kevin Kiernan. Mm-hmm. They interviewed me at my house. I took them to the Elks Lodge, took them around the Elks Lodge. And once they left, I hadn't heard anything from them or anything about this documentary ever again. I just didn't even think about it anymore until I went to Extreme Rising. And I ran into those guys at Extreme Rising. Mm-hmm. that's how I ended up on the documentary again, and I shed a few tears because like I was really glad to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't think that event was gonna, really stir those emotions in me. But anyway, back to the documentary. They told me that they had began work on it again. I think they got some money or something like. I think they crowdfunded it or something. I'm not really sure. And so they finished the documentary, and the documentary came out, and I went to the premiere at the arena, and it's pretty good. I was supposed to be in what is it, Hardcore Homecoming with their documentary.
Yeah.
And the schedules never worked out. I was supposed to go to New Jersey and be interviewed by Jeremy Borash, but it never happened.
Yeah.
It never happened. But the thing about the barbed wire documentary is like I know some people that said, now we got the definitive story of ECW because you're in it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I like them all. Right? They all to me, because there's enough stories and enough angles and takes from different people. And again, it's right. I mean, the Hardcore Homecoming, it's enjoyable. But then again, Barbed Wire City, again, because there's some different guys in it. So I think
they did some interesting things with it, but the most poignant thing about that video was the ending.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about what the company meant to people, and then you have all the people who have passed on and left us.
Yeah.
That was a pretty. I love that documentary.
Yeah,
I love that documentary.
Me too.
Not just because I'm actually in it. I really love that one.
Yeah. So we talked about the struggles with ECW, right? Living pay-per-view to pay-per-view. Things happening, you're right. Just coming almost the inevitable, right? They didn't have a backer. They almost got too big too quick to keep up. I mean, again, this has been so many people have dissected this and looked into it. It's almost a boring topic to discuss anymore. But what I'm curious about is with you guys who were the diehards, the going all the time, going week, every week. Did you guys get whispers? Were you guys having discussions that things were ever struggling? Did you ever know or get that feeling that, something's happened towards the end that maybe things aren't as great as what we hope?
Well, I think because me and most of the people in my group, we weren't like 20-year-olds. We were 30-year-olds, and we were in the world already.
Mm-hmm.
Working and things like that, and I think we didn't know that they were going to go bankrupt and go out of business, but we knew things were up. We knew. Even if you try to put on a brave face, like behind closed doors and stuff like that, is like, hey man, we know something's going up. Like there were people who would ask us about the what pay-per-view was supposed to. The last pay-per-view was it Guilty as Charged?
I believe so.
In 2001, and then they were talking about another one.
Yes, right.
And people were talking about like, okay, well, when is it going to be scheduled and all of that? I'm like, well, if they haven't scheduled it yet, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the bottom dropped out. So like we knew something. We knew something was up. The show though, that kind of like it kind of upset me. There was a part of me that didn't want to go, but I went. There was an Elks Lodge show. Matter of fact, it was the last Elks Lodge show. Where the Dudleys came back. The Dudleys came back for one night, and ECW doubled the ticket price.
Okay.
And now normally, like I try to be honest and I try to be, but there's certain things I just wouldn't say publicly. But this time I actually said it. I said, this show is like, I feel like the fans are paying for ECW's mistakes.
Okay.
When you buy a ticket that's double the ticket price for that particular building.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like, you know, I mean, I know they didn't double the rent to book the building.
Yep.
I know that, you know, they were probably getting the same rate, but we're getting charged double. And if you notice the attendance as opposed to other shows at that building, the attendance was much lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't really have a lot of standing room only at that one.
Yeah. So do you remember when you heard that it was definitively it was done? Did you get word from anybody? Did you see when Heyman showed up on Raw? What was it that you just knew? You knew it was done.
Well, basically when Heyman showed up on Raw.
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah.
And you know, at that time, like I wasn't privy to everything. Like I didn't know that Vince was giving Paul money under the table.
Yeah.
You know, I heard rumors of it, but I didn't know if it was true or not. I didn't know for sure or anything like that. But you know, when Paul came out on Raw and there was no angle.
Yeah.
And there was no angle about it. Like he just showed up. That's when everybody knew it was over.
Yep.
You know,
did you feel like a piece of you just died? I mean, like this whole part of your life for all this, for these few years, or were you just like, oh, okay, you know, it's you, because since you could sense that there was some struggles, was it just you knew this was coming at some point?
Yeah, I knew it was coming at some point. I think the thing for me was like, okay, man, what are we gonna do now? Yeah. It's like that, because once again, I go back to that family thing. That's what this particular section of my family, this family that ECW created, that was our thing. Going to the arena, going to the Elks Lodge, going to the shows around the area. There were weekends where we did the Elks Lodge on a Thursday night or Friday night. We did the arena on Saturday, and if they had a show in Belmar, New Jersey on the beach, we did that. Like we would do that.
Yeah. So it's not even so much a well, what am I going to do without ECW thing? It's like, well, how am I going to see my family now? That angle. Yeah, right?
Well, I mean, I'm going to see my family, but it wouldn't be with that. It was kind of like, okay, we're not going to meet every third Saturday or whatever or something like that. We just had to find other ways to do it, you know.
Yeah.
But it definitely blew a hole in my life. That's for sure. And I tried to fill it up with Ring of Honor. And I tried to fill it up with some of these other things, and it was not the same.
Sure,
it was not the same. ECW meant so much to me.
Yeah,
I mean, it had to mean that much to me for me to go to the mat for it the way that I did.
Yeah,
but it was, I don't know, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so much of us, right, who miss the product, miss having it. But then for you, you're missing your routine, right? Every week. Every week, these people that it introduced you to who are such important parts of your life.
Yeah.
And everything else. And it's a different level for you being there. And as we wrap down here, I have to bring up, let's talk about One Night Stand 2006. Rob Van Dam versus John Cena. Right, the whole anti-Cena chants, the shirt being thrown back. Tell us about, you see gifs, you see memes, you see whatever, and so many of them. When you look at this match and the John Cena right there's Tony Lewis right there, front row, decked out, right, tie, vest, whatever I can't remember what you're wearing.
I'll tell you a couple of things about that. I wasn't even supposed to be at that show. That was going to be the one EC, because I went to the first One Night Stand.
I
didn't go to this one. I wasn't supposed to go to this one.
Okay.
I had just come back home from church. That's the reason why.
That's why you're dressed up. Yeah. Okay.
That's why I was dressed that way. I had just gotten home from church, And I got a call from Mike Johnson said, "Hey, are you going to go to One Night Stand?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't even have a ticket. I hadn't planned on going." He says, "Well, Lenny," and everybody know who's Lenny is. Lenny is Faith No More guy, Howard Stern guy,
right.
guy sitting in the front row with the long hair and the glass.
Yeah.
For some reason, he couldn't make it. And he wanted somebody to go in his place, somebody who would not take possession of the commemorative chair. I didn't want the chair.
All right.
So I said, "You know what? I'll go. Let me just," I didn't even get changed. I just said, "Hold on. Let me hop on the railroad and come on down to the city."
Okay.
And that was the only reason why I was there. And like, people think that this was staged or whatever. It was not staged. This was just, like Mike and I, we call it the last act of ECW, the last true defiant ECW act.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to be. It just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened. It was not planned.
And
it was not staged. This was the ECW gods in action.
And you have to give, I mean, again, you got to tip the hat to John Cena, right? Who knowing the moment. Went right with it, knew exactly what was happening, could feel.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, it's why he was what he was for so long.
If I ever get a chance to meet him, I have not had the chance to meet him yet. I'm gonna go up to him and say, "Do you recognize me? Do you know who I am?"
He probably will.
Maybe.
knowing
see.
Some of the things you see with him, he very well might.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's gotta come up where we just happen to be at the same place in the same time. Sure. I don't really do conventions or anything like that. And like I said, I don't chase these people. But if one day we happen to be in the same place, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah. So do you still watch wrestling? I know you've watched some AEW in the past, right? You've posted a little bit about that here and there.
I watch AEW. I watch AEW from time to time. When AEW premiered those first couple of years, I loved AEW. I even posted on Facebook. I said, as much as I love ECW and what have you, AEW is the company that I've been praying for, because I hated Vince McMahon. I hated Vince McMahon. And that goes back to when I first became a wrestling fan, and he took the time slot from Championship Wrestling from Florida off of the Spanish station and Black Saturday and all this other stuff like that. Because honestly, I was an NWA mark. I love the NWA. I wasn't really big on the WWF so much, even though that's my hometown.
Yeah.
"Quote unquote" hometown promotion. I was Southern wrestling.
Yeah.
I was Southern wrestling, Florida, Georgia, Texas, that's what I love. And Vince took a lot of that away from me. So I've always had this hatred, quote unquote hatred, for Vince McMahon. So anyway, dag, I lost track.
You were talking about watching AEW.
Okay. So I just said, this is the company that I've been looking for. This is the company that punches Vince McMahon right in the mouth. Yeah. This is what I want. And somewhere along the line, Tony Khan lost it. People like Tony Khan he's a quote unquote billionaire. My thing is like, hey, that's not your money. That's your dad's money. Your dad is the billionaire. You're not the billionaire.
Yep.
But I think now he has a good handle on what's going on in his company and things like that. So I've been kind of getting back into it. I really wish now that I don't live in New York, I'm in Tucson, Arizona now, and I was so jealous looking at the last AEW pay-per-view. What was that, Double or Nothing, from the Louis Armstrong Stadium, which is that's like 20 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
And I was so jealous. I was like, man, if I was still in New York, I would be there.
Yeah.
I think the business has changed so much as far as like how the shows are distributed and what have you. And it's the one thing I say why ECW came along too early. It couldn't take advantage of YouTube. They couldn't take advantage of broadband internet. And it's like Paul said, you know, like you screwed ECW, but then you ended up screwing the pay-per-view companies ended up screwing themselves, because now they had to put everybody on because they lost content.
Yeah.
So they had to start putting everybody on. ECW was so beneficial to so many of these other companies, and it's like, you know, it's like what Dave Meltzer said at the end of Barbed Wire City. Like, you know, ECW made a whole bunch of money for the WWF with the tape library and the brand name and things like that. It's like a lot of people benefited off of ECW, and a lot of people benefited off of ECW not being there anymore.
Definitely.
But like ECW couldn't take advantage of technology, and by small extension, the Strictly ECW organization, we couldn't take advantage. We were doing our little audio show, and we had to record it to mini disc, and then we had to upload it to Real Player and all this other stuff like that.
Yep.
And we were podcasting before anybody knew what podcasting was about.
Be much easier now.
We couldn't take advantage. Like, you can buy a cheap little $100 podcasting set, and with Zoom internet and all of that, like, dude, Buckwood would have to drive in from Staten Island, and everybody had to drove, and we met at our house, and we had this little makeshift studio. Like, I had like a bar, and I had all of this equipment, and I bought microphones and telephone hybrids and all this other stuff like that. Spent a whole lot of money. And now all you got to do is you got Zoom internet and video conferencing. You don't even have to be, none of you even have to be in the same place.
No.
And you can record a show and you upload it to YouTube and all this. My organization, when what we were trying to do came along too early to take advantage of technology. So we were in the same boat as ECW.
Yep. That's
but I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous.
Okay. Sounds like it.
Yeah, no, I'm not jealous. It is what it is. You know, it is what it is.
Well, hey, someone, namely you guys, someone had to crawl before the rest of us could walk.
Exactly. That's exactly.
So thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Tony.
Oh,
I'll give you props.
I'll take a check.
I don't got one. I don't have that. Hey, give Paul a call. Give Paul a call. He'll get you.
Okay.
Oh man.
Which let me say this about Paul. Paul and I, every so often, he'll send me a text message. Every once in a while, I'll send him a text. I text him on his birthday. I text him on the anniversary of Barely Legal. He texted me when I got married, and I love Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman.
Yeah. Say what you want. He has always been very good. He's always praised you a lot, and some of those, like you, for your support, your efforts, how important they were to ECW, and everything else. I mean, he gave you your props with the TV thing,
yes,
with the pay-per-view thing. Not just, publicly. So, yeah, you can say what you want. Yeah, he knows those.
Oh, I'll defend him to the death. I'll defend him to the death.
As so many else will. There's a reason why so many will. I mean, yeah. So again, thank you, Tony, for your time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And
thank you, Dave.
Yeah, and I'd love maybe to connect again in the future and talk something else. Maybe talk something, more specific event or whatever it might be, or I
don't remember the events. I'm okay. Old. I'm old. Like people look at me. People look at me. They don't think I'm as old as I am. Or like I'm not that far away from being eligible for Social Security. So I don't remember a lot. I remember I did something with Mike Johnson for PW Insider, and we were going over certain events, and I didn't remember any of that stuff. I didn't remember anything.
I'm sure Mike remembered everything, didn't he?
Mike remembers it all. I don't remember anything, but you know what though? The most important thing I remember is that ECW gave me a family. It gave me a family.
Absolutely.
But I don't need to remember the events. I just need to know what ECW made me feel and what ECW put into my life.
Yeah.
And I don't need to remember the events.
What else? But again, ECW, but wrestling can have a guy from New York living in Arizona now, and a guy from Indiana living in Florida now, who we can connect, sit here and talk for over an hour about.
Where are you in Florida?
I'm in Pensacola.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went through Pensacola one time. Like when I retired in 23, I drove out to Arizona to be with my soon-to-be wife. Stayed there for 3 weeks, and I made my way back across the country. I stopped in Texas to see my brother, and I think I spent the night in Pensacola because the drive from Dallas, I was going to St. Petersburg. That's a long drive. That was a long, hard drive.
Yeah, I bet.
I had to stop in Pensacola. I did.
Yeah, there you go. That's where I live now, and I've just recently moved here. But again, what else but wrestling? What else but something at DCW?
What else but wrestling?
Available on all streaming platforms. It's professional wrestling's greatest, largest, privately owned wrestling library. All the classic hits, flips, slams, and pins of yesteryear are on one place. It's Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Check out the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, a who's who of professional wrestling's greatest spotlight stars ever to grace the squared circle, all in one place. Grab the best seat in the house for memories and mayhem on Ultimate Classic Wrestling.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. If you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, and of course all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia podcast network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
All right, and thank you to Tony for coming on and chatting with me. Guys, everyone go check out the ECW documentary Barbed Wire City and give it a watch and support the memory, the history, the whatever you want to say of ECW. Guys, also follow me on social media. I'm pretty much on all the platforms. Just look up Nostalgic Dave Dynasty or at the Dave Dynasty, and you will probably find me. Also, be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube for lots of classic wrestling content, plus all of my various podcasts. And make sure you subscribe to me on whatever platform you listen, and give me a rating and a review. Now, guys, the ratings and reviews, all that stuff helps with the algorithm. So if someone else is listening to a wrestling podcast, the better and more ratings and reviews we have, the more likely we are to pop up as a suggested listen. So it really does help us within those platforms. So make sure you subscribe and then give us a rating and a review. It only takes a few minutes, but it helps us out tremendously. Go check out all of the WrestleCopia Network podcasts. You can find the individual shows on your favorite podcast platform, or you can visit WrestleCopia.com. And also be sure to check out my friends at the Ultimate Classic Wrestling Library. Visit ClassicWrestling.net to sign up for your account and then download the app on all of your smart devices. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me again. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Everybody get out there and enjoy a little extreme ECW. And remember, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and always keep on growing.
Fans, we brought you All-Star Championship Wrestling. This is Sam Manager thanking you for being with us and saying until next time, so long, everyone.